Can you fix a broken rear screen yourself without any special tools? Here we're going to find out. Hi, today I'm going to tell you whether you, yes you, can change your own glass backing on your iPhone. So you see on mine here it's badly cracked. Phone still works okay, just cosmetic. I've got an identical replacement cover from eBay. So look for replacement covers that have identical markings on, says iPhone, has the Apple logo, and I'm sure they come from the same factory because they look absolutely identical. Make sure it's for the right phone, of course. There are plenty of videos on YouTube showing how to do this, but they're all done by professional phone fixers, and they use rather expensive tools like one of these hot air desoldering guns to loosen up the glue on the glass, which as a DIYer you're unlikely to have. So giving it some thought, and the key thing about this video is, are you able to change the glass yourself just using some basic tools and a bit of imagination? I didn't want to spend £100 or £200 on a special hot air gun. I did think about using a DIY paint stripping hot air gun, but those are too powerful and you'd probably end up ruining your phone. So in this video I'm going to use a car headlamp bulb, so any sort of bulb would do. This is going to be my heat source. I'm going to wrap a little bit of kitchen foil around it to keep the light and the heat away from my eyes while I'm doing the repair. I'm going to wire it up to a car battery. It's actually charged by a power supply at the same time, but you don't need that. So you could do this right next to your car, just put some cables on it if you wanted to. So no expensive tools, dirt cheap to do. If you haven't got a car headlamp bulb, you can buy one from an auto store on eBay for a few quid. These are about 50 watts or something, so it's more than enough heat, hopefully, to loosen up the glue on the phone cover and to prise it off. For the prising, I've got various collections of little tools here. So I've got a standing blade, that's probably the cheapest way of trying to do it. Some various other scalpel blades that I had. Just use whatever you've got. Could even use a very sharp knife. So I have never tried this myself before, and if I can succeed, then hopefully you can follow me and do it yourself and save yourself a fortune, particularly when it comes to reselling your phone, because it'll be worth more. This cover, as I got from eBay, have a look at the buying links in the video description. On the back there's a plastic piece of protective film which just peels off, and then around the edge is some double-sided sticky tape which comes as part of it. If you want extra protection, then again on eBay you can get this dedicated foam glue which I've seen other people use. So first I got myself a glass Pyrex dish to catch any glass pieces that have been flown off. Put a piece of tissue underneath. Two reasons: capture some of the glass, hopefully stop the face being too scratched, and also as we're applying heat it'll tell us whether we're applying too much, because we'll start browning off and blackening the paper. Next, wear some glasses or a safety shield to protect your eyes. We've got a foil, we've got our light bulb, and next we'll power up our bulb and we'll start heating it around where we're going to start picking at the glass. And you can feel how much heat you're getting on it just using your fingers, and after about 25 seconds you can feel the glass is getting nice and hot. Now I know around the middle of the phone, around here, is the wireless charging sensor, so I want to stay a little bit to the edge, but because of where the glass is cracked, you're going to have to start off on this point here as gently as you can, but of course you have to be a little bit brutal to actually start off getting into it. And there's one little bit off. Now let's keep going with the heat. I'll make it easier to get some more bits off. Yep, there we go. And this is actually a little bit easier than I thought it would be. So this is sort of the cheapest way of doing it, I suppose, with a basic Stanley blade. But to make it easier to hold, I'm going to use this scalpel, which doesn't dig in quite so much, but probably makes it easier to scrape the glue off with a flat base. So as you might have seen on a lot of these videos, this process takes quite a long time of picking away at the glass. Let's get a bit more heat, and I'm going to go back to my sharper blade instead of the standard blade this time, this scalpel blade. So I'm going to stop the video there for a bit, do quite a lot of picking, and I'll let you know how long it takes to get to various stages. And so after about 10 minutes we've got to this stage. This is the wireless charging pickup in the middle, so be careful about that. A little bit of plastic might come away as in the corner there. I'm hoping that doesn't make too much of a difference, but we live and learn. The rest of it is fairly well glued down, so you have to keep alternating with the light off and on to soften up the glue. Notice the difference between, like here, the glue is really hard, you can't cut into it. After I heat it up, so about 30 seconds of light on the glue starts to make it a little softer. I think undoubtedly a hot air gun blower would make it easier to get more heat on it, but I'm not going to pay £200 for one of those. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing and hopefully that'll work out. Yeah, you can see now it is a little bit softer and allowing me to cut underneath the glue. Sometimes you can get some big chunks off like that. Fortunately, it's got a metal plate underneath. It's not fantastically strong, the metal plate, so I don't lever too much against it. The other useful thing of having this tissue is we can then get rid of all our bits and stop it scratching the phone. So let's keep going like that. So after an hour or two of scratching away of lots of little bits of glass, as you can see here, finally got it cleaned. It's not something I'd recommend doing if you haven't got a lot of patience, especially. It is quite difficult not having that specialist hot air gun desoldering airflow tool. I went through several scalpel blades, snapped that flat one. Went out and bought one of these other slightly larger flat ones, which was the only one I could get locally. That helped. The other thing that helped was using this superglue removing stuff, Power Bond High Performance 806 glue remover. It's meant for superglue. Seems to work on the glue that they use on these phones as well. And what I often did do is put a couple of drops on the edge of the glass and then let it soften the glue and pry it up. With the lamp, the phone did get very hot, so it's not really as localized as I would have wanted. I was a bit worried about ruining the OLED display on the phone because it got so hot, but it does still work. No real problems with it, so that's good, and the camera still works well as well. This bezel doesn't need to be removed for the iPhone 8 Plus, and it was a lot harder than some of the videos I make out. I'm sure some of the videos on YouTube, people removing the glass is from glass that's already been replaced once already, because if you imagine glass stuck down onto metal with super glue, that's a bit what it's like when it's cold. It's very, very hard. You need to heat it up or soften up the glue. As a result, I think I'll rename the video DIY Challenge, because it's very much like that. Didn't show you a lot of the video of me scraping away. There's plenty of videos online showing that. It's a bit boring. So here's our cover. Plenty of covers I've seen don't have the double-sided tape already attached onto it. This one does, with a cover to protect the stickiness. But while the cover's in place, we can just check whether that fits flushly or not. I think that's good enough. So on phones that, or phone glasses that don't have the double-sided tape on it, then you're going to need to glue it down. You can use that glue remover to put it on the tissue, clean up any remnants around the edges or on the surface. I wouldn't lever too much with your metal tool when you're trying to prise off the glass, because you can see in one place it's quite nastily dinted, a few other places just very minorly. You can see I've also abraded slightly the wireless charging pickup. I think that'll still work. It's just the plastic on top that's been abraded off while I was scraping away at the plastic nearby. And this Stanley blade with a very long straight edge is actually quite useful for going over the surface to make sure that all glues have been removed from the corner and you've got no pieces standing proud anywhere that's going to stop the glass sitting down. So I suppose you could just rely on this double-sided tape to stick the cover down. I'm not going to do that. I think in fact I'm going to remove the tape since I've got the proper glue and use the glue like everyone else does, because the downside of using the tape is it's white and might possibly show around the edge, and it was actually fairly poorly aligned on this one. It was actually sticking out, and you see I shaved off a little bit in order to trial fit it. I'm just going to remove it all. I just started doing that on the corner. The tape and the backing cover all comes off in one piece. And now let's apply our glue, preferably with a nice steady hand in a straight line. I think you've got a minute or two to apply this before it starts to set. I think it's about 15 minutes set time, but I think I'll leave it overnight to fully cure. A little liberal dosing over here. I think that should do it. And then on with the cover. There we go. There we go, then give it a good squeeze. What I will do is put a heavy book on it, I think. Leave that to set. Let's just make sure we haven't got any residue showing. See there where it's squirted out, does rub off quite easily. This is the final result. Fairly tidy looking, happy enough with that. It's not something I'd really recommend the DIYer doing because it is a hell of a job. You can imagine super glue sticking glass onto a metal plate and trying to detach the two. That's basically what it's like. But if you've got a lot of patience and don't mind spending a few hours doing it, then you can get quite reasonable results. Just be patient and persevere and try not to knack your phone. Thanks for watching. Bye.